Welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisition. So it comes down to this, the end. The fate of the Inquisition shall be decided. Here and now, on my terms, not theirs. Never theirs. A bunch of nobles.
Something must be done, but we cannot lose the Inquisition now. We stand on the brink of war with the Canary.
Yes, because this Solas provoked them in the first place.
The Inquisition did not cause this threat. We informed the Summit of the danger.
The danger posed by Canary spies inside your organization.
Without our organization, I doubt you would be alive to complain.
No one has forgotten what you have done. But Corypheus is 2 years dead.
If the Inquisition is to continue, it must do so as a legitimate organization, not a glorified mercenary band.
Inquisitor.
Does everyone forget who the fuck I am? I mean, beyond the point of Inquisitor. Do you forget of the whole Herald of Andraste, Patrick Weeks, when you wrote this thing? I mean, you know, just a small, insignificant detail, right? To be the chosen of this game's version of Jesus? Yet, you know, just a small, insignificant fucking point that you didn't give a shit about? We will serve the Divine. You get the choice. Downsize the Inquisition and serve the Divine, or disband it. Fuck me if I'm gonna disband it, all that hard work. I can see Liliana's point. I am not going to go for it. No. And it does tell you, efforts against Solus will be stronger, but risk corruption. Efforts against Solus will be weaker, but more secure. Yeah. Fuck these guys. The game forgot about the fact that Gaspard only sits on his throne because of the Inquisition supporting him. The game forgot about, you know, the role of the Herald of Andraste. The game doesn't give a shit. This is why this DLC sucks dick on the story level. I mean, sure, the whole thing with Solus, what he talks about is fine, but this? Fuck this.
You all know what this is. A writ from Divine Justinia authorizing the formation of the Inquisition. We pledge to close the breach, find those responsible, and restore order, with or without anyone's approval. The Inquisition saved the people of Ferelden when you couldn't. We are not disbanding. And we are certainly not submitting to an emperor who only sits on his throne because we put him there. There's worse coming than anything you've yet seen. So we'll play nice. We'll bow. But not to you. The Inquisition will act as Divine Victoria's personal honor guard. Answering directly to her, we will transition from a military force into a peacekeeping organization. My own adventuring days may be done, but the Inquisition and its mission will continue.
Thank you.
We did change the world, though. A divine by our choice. An emperor by our choice. The Inquisition shrank to a more reasonable size. It makes sense, you know, if you want to lower the corruption, because as a new organization, as at least one that grew so large, you would have a lot of problems inside it. So shrinking to a more reasonable size makes sense. it still leaves a bitter aftertaste. The Qunari the Qunari retreated back to the north. Yeah. Disavowed the actions of the Ben Hastraf. The Ben Hastraf disavowed the actions of the Qunari forces there, and they still considered their alliance with the Inquisition intact. And then they invaded Ferelden. Tevinter. What the fuck am I saying here? They invaded Tevinter, and they asked the Divine for help. Cassandra served on the Exalted Council, then left after several years because she was disgusted by Vivienne. Oh well, she went to work restoring the Seekers. Makes sense. Sadly, this is bugged because it mentions the mages. Well, this is really the Vivienne's ending slide. No one else. It's not really about the Templar mages. It's about Vivienne herself. So apparently the Conclave was formed anyway, even with Divine Vivienne. Retconning! Nice job, BioWare. Really nice job. She was grooming her favorite agents. Sarah returned back to normal life. Guess we're not gonna see her again, thankfully. I think she was the most hated character in this game by far. By far. Varric became Viscount and continued to rule. That's Evelyn, I think, right there. She was one of the, let's say, better characters of that fucking game. Along with Varric, of course. Talbashov mercenaries across Orlais and Ferelden were looked on with suspicion. Those who remained in the south found their lives even harder as a result. Cullen remained commander of the Inquisition's forces. This is going too fast. It's not that they didn't voice it. That's, you know, I could read it just fine, but it's even going too fast to read it properly, and I'm a fast reader. I can't imagine how it is for those who are more slow readers. Anyway. Dorian returned to Tevinter, where he worked towards restoring Tevinter to greatness. And of course redeem it, right? And he kept in contact with the Inquisitor. You know, this is this game's version of the Citadel DLC, but I gotta say, in terms of handling companions, in terms of the effort, the Mass Effect team has always been better than the DA team in terms of DLC and in terms of overall games, I'd argue. Like, Mass Effect 4 is probably going to be considerably better than Inquisition. Don't get me wrong, Inquisition was still my game of the year of 2014, and my opinion hasn't changed on that. It's just a shame that this DLC takes the piss on the things that made Inquisition so good. The religious conflict, the rise to power, the political, you know, rise to power and all that stuff. Josephine had the House of Repose join her as bodyguards for her ships, and she went back to Antiva. So she abandoned the Inquisition. Well, it might just be might just be there for the public to know about, right? Cole returned into the Fade. Okay. And elves started disappearing across Phaedus, joining Solus, I guess. Van Hurel. But of course, many of those actions were just there for the public, right? The Inquisition still stands, and our mission isn't done.
My agents have found nothing. With the Illuvians, he could be anywhere.
Maintaining the Inquisition, even as a peacekeeping force, leaves us vulnerable to agents of the Dread Wolf.
But also gives us the strength to respond.
We will need to be careful.
Solus knows everything about us. Who we are, how we work, our strengths and weaknesses.
Then we find people he doesn't know. We will save our friend from himself. If we can.
I wonder who we're gonna play in the next game. Probably not the Inquisitor. It's just so cheap though, BioWare. It's really just so fucking cheap there. The Inquisitor could have been a great protagonist for the next game. It's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna remove his arm or her arm, so you can't play the Inquisitor in the next game. Fuck with that. Fuck off with that. Maybe it would be best if this is the last Dragon Age game. Maybe it would be best if there's no more sequels to the Dragon Age series. Because the Dragon Age series in general hasn't been all that great. I mean, Awakening and Inquisition, sure, they're great. Origins, mediocre. 2, a piece of shit all around. So that's my takeaway. Was it worth the price tag? Probably. But it does feel rushed. It does feel as if EA wasn't satisfied with the financial performance of the previous DLCs, and they kind of forced BioWare to rush this. And what did you expect? Like, really, Dragon Age isn't fun for the gameplay. It's interesting for the story. That's always been the case, even from Origins. You know, that's the thing that drew people there. Like, sure, I may piss on Origins overall, but there were certainly good moments in there as well. And Descent and Jaws of Hakan, those don't really have interesting stories that most people will care about. This is an interesting story, and it's the only DLC I've played. It's like Jaws of Hakan, go deal with, find the old last Inquisitor and deal with the dragon. How interesting. The Descent, go into the deep roads with characters you don't care about, to find that the dwarves were created from titans. Okay. Well, that's about it. And if you skip past the credits here, you get this, a message, a thank you message from the Dragon Age team. Yeah, I think it would be best if this is the last Dragon Age game. I know they've set up a whole story with Solus that might be interesting, but honestly, really. That probably would be very interesting, but you know what? I think that's enough, right? Hell, part of me wishes that they never had done this DLC in the first place. That's just my take on it.